Yeah, really, that's what it's going to boil down to. All right, folks.
Yeah.
Well, I am here, as you know, with Catherine Dreher, and we're talking DESE in the state of Missouri. Now, so I had some audio that I wanted to play. And basically, the first article that they talked about was that a high school in California was going to get rid of the honors program in their school for equity. Now, mind you, because it comes down to 1% of kids, okay, and minorities, and things like that. But basically, the classes weren't mandatory. They were a voluntary thing, but they decided, well, for equity's sake, we're going to get rid of the honors class, and the only thing left is what was it? College prep English. That was the only class that they were
Yeah.
not touching. So let's before we get into the Missouri side of things, let's break this down a little bit, because Catherine, when you hear equity in school, what does that make you think of when equity? When
Ugh.
someone says equity?
I don't know. I always think of my home, in terms of equity, but
Yeah.
in the way that they're using it, it's like they're trying to level the playing field, which is what government's always trying to do and never actually works. So it sounds like by making it so that by taking away the honors English and just making it, what was it, college prep English? Yeah, they're just trying to equal the playing field, make it equal. But equity is not a term that I associate with school. Again, I associate it with like my mortgage, my home. It's an unusual phrase, but it's a growing thing now, this whole idea of equity in education. But I wish they could hear that podcast, because they were talking about how with the honors English, you could enroll in it. Like, I mean, it was something that students had a choice as to whether or not they wanted to participate in. So they wanted to make it sound like it was racially, it was racial inequality, even though across the board anybody could enroll in the honors English course. So yeah, I wish they could hear that podcast, because it is pretty funny. And it was something like what it came down to in terms of Latinos and Black people. It was only like 1% based on the number of like Black students in the school compared to the number that enrolled into the course. It was only a difference of 1%. And again, they had a choice of whether or not to enroll in that class. Again, it's just a dumbing down of America. Yeah, Gary, right? A race to the bottom. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and we see equity, and they talk about equity in a lot of things, and when you're talking about equality versus equity, or and when they talk about what do they call it, the equality of outcomes, or things like that, and it's like
Right.
I love it when, like, older videos of Jordan Peterson debating these lefties when they were talking about this, and they would bring up like the gender wage gap and all these things, and he would be like, well, if you're going to go this, then are you going to break it across all spectrums of every career, or are you only talking
Right.
about in politics and things like this? Because 95% of men are bricklayers, and 95% of men do this, and only 5% of women do this. Are you going to
Well,
break
I
that
don't
and
want to be a
even it out?
bricklayer.
Right. Are you going to break that up, and you're going to divide it evenly across every career that's out there, or are you only nitpicking certain things where and so
Right.
it's dumb, and again, like what Gary said, a race to the bottom. I
Yeah.
mean, good God Almighty. um again, I want to bring up what I said Saturday too, when Obama was president. This no child left behind crap that Bush
Yes.
started, and then you get into the minority or the inner city schools down and around Atlanta, where Obama's like, well, we'll just lower the standard for passing grades.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, the host of the show's like, and that's not racist, because basically a black
Yeah.
president is saying that these minority kids just can't cut it. So we'll just
Mm-hmm.
lower the standards for them to pass
Right.
school.
Yeah,
But
you're saying they're not smart enough, so we've got to make it easier.
right. Now what's more racist than, hey, you're a minority and we know you're dumb, so we'll just make it easier. I mean, that's literally, without saying it, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That is what they're saying.
Yeah, I wish we had the audio. Now, if I would have been thinking, I could have brought my wife's little laptop in here and ran the audio cord into the board and played it, but then I'd have to probably have
okay.
a charger cable. Okay.
We were scrambling.
Yeah, we were. Here was another dandy one. When a parent at a Baltimore school figured out that her kid's GPA was .13, but that's not the best part, folks. He was in the middle of his class. The middle of his class. Here's something
Not even a
even
1.13.
right. Just .13. He had failed all but 3 classes
Wow.
in his 3 years at that school, and they just kept passing him on. Now, here's the best part.
Yeah.
When they looked at testing as proficiency in math, what did they say? 2 kids in, in 23 schools. In 23
Yeah.
schools, 0 kids were proficient in math. And the budget for the Baltimore, Maryland school district is $1.4 billion. Just for
Yeah.
Baltimore alone. That's not the whole
One-
state of Maryland.
Yeah, money is not solving that problem. And, as you mentioned, the No Child Left Behind, well, that's how we got Common Core. And then everybody's all in an uproar over Common Core. Well, guess what? We took federal funds which involved, the No Child Left Behind. And with that came Common Core. I mean, it's like, what is the legislature doing? What is our General Assembly doing when things like that happen? And then now they have to try to, I mean, I can see this happening with the whole critical race theory stuff. I bet you anything, at some point, we're going to take federal money to go to DESE, to our Missouri Department of Education, and with it is going to come CRT. So that's one part of it. I mean, as you mentioned the money, we've already talked about this before. Half of our budget, our state budget, comes from federal funds, and a large portion of our budget is going to DESE. So it's like, quit crying about the stuff when they're the ones making these decisions, and now they have to try to pass these laws to fix it. It's the whole thing. Government's going to whack you in the knee and then offer you some crutches. Well, yeah, we're here to help.
Yeah, was that the old Harry Brown quote? Government will break your leg, give you crutches, and say, "See, without government, you couldn't walk."
Right. It's that same idea. Like, oh, well, these kids can't do math. Well, you idiots. You're the ones that took the money that caused this problem.
And, and when we're talking about, so the other day when I brought up the budget, the school budget for 2022 in Missouri was $8.5 billion. Now, $2 billion was from the CARES Act. So there was 3.2 million coming from state, 3.2 some odd million, another 3.2 some odd billion coming from federal funding, and this year they had another $2 billion for the budget. Now, here's the problem, and Catherine, you were talking about this a minute ago.
Yeah.
That money's not going to solve it, because we hear the excuses that, well, Missouri is 49th in school spending. Okay. But let's break this down a little farther, shall we? Because, again, DESE DESE alone has 1,700 employees.
Yeah.
Okay, so the school funding has to pay those salaries on top
Mm-hmm.
of teachers, administrators, and everything else. And
Right.
let me pull up all the uh, departments again because they had all these different
Mm-hmm.
different groups of whatever.
Right.
I emailed myself the link, so let me get those because I tried to make it easy on myself. I do that once in a while, Catherine. Sometimes I try to make it easy on myself.
I know.
Um,
I email myself things all the time, articles that I don't have time to read.
and unfortunately, sometimes when I help myself, I just hurt myself, and then I want to hurt myself because I,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying. All right, let
I
me
know
let
what
me
you're
got
saying.
that page, and I emailed myself the budget numbers. This is from 20. Now, the budget I'm speaking of is from 2022. But
Mm-hmm.
in the Department of DESE, we have the commissioner. We have Division of Financial and Administrative Services. We have
Mm-hmm.
Division of Learning Services. We have Office of Adult Learning and Rehabilitation Services.
Mm-hmm.
Office of Childhood. Office of College and Career Readiness. Office of Data System Management. Office of Educator Quality, Office of Quality Schools, Office of Special Education. So we have all those offices that we have in the state. So
Yep.
of that $8.5 billion, how much money is going to all those departments before the
Right.
schools get the this is the thing that drives me nuts, Catherine. It's the fact that government likes to talk about they need to, where money needs to go or whatever. But
Right.
then, because of the perpetual state of government, is that they have to create this bureaucracy to divvy up the money, which sucks up
Mm-hmm.
the funds. Now, do you still have your papers in front of you? Because you
I
brought up
do.
St. Charles County. Was it St. Charles County?
Yeah, St. Charles County. And again, I don't have a date on this. I tried really hard to find a date. It could be several years old, but I would assume this is only increased since
Nope.
then.
Yeah, probably
So,
has.
yeah, this is St. Charles County, and this is from sccmo.org. So this is public official salaries in St. Charles County. Public official salaries in St. Charles County. The highest paid public official in St. Charles County is the superintendent of Francis Howell School District at $195,993 a year. After that, it's nothing but administration. The Francis Howell Central Office Administrator, 194 plus thousand. Another Central Office Administrator. The President of St. Charles Community College, which is a public institution, 188 plus $1,000. Another Francis Howell Central Office Administrator. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, all the top ones. And all I did was print the very first page. And the bulk of these, and it's all public official salaries in St. Charles County that are over $100,000. Just this whole first page is largely, let me see, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 office administrators just for Francis Howell Central. That doesn't include like Francis Howell North. I don't know if you're familiar with Francis Howell in St. Charles County. It's ridiculous. So when they start crying, wanting their tax increases, I just go and pull up their public salaries. Like, no, don't tell me, don't throw our children under my children. My children are homeschooled, but don't throw the children under the bus. Don't throw the teachers under the bus. I mean, I can find all your budget cuts right here. Here's where you can cut. I mean, and for St. Charles County, that is a ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what the median income is, but this is outrageous.
Yeah, so, if
and
we
then to have like 9 administrators for one, school district is ridiculous.
And when we're talking about this, and again, okay, here's the argument. So when they talk about school expenditures or how much the state spends on education, the one of the main things that comes up is teacher salaries, right? That's the big, and believe me, I understand teachers, especially what they're forced to do, which they're basically babysitting your kids all day.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get paid enough. But what do they want to do? They want to increase the budget. They don't want to look at administrative costs and say, look, how many, probably tens of millions of dollars, that's a guess, or millions of dollars is going to administrators for six-figure salaries.
Right.
Can you all take, I don't know, a 25% pay cut, 50% pay cut? And so we can spread that out. But no, what they'll want to do is they'll want to increase the budget by $500 million to pay the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Again, where's the money coming from? Where is it coming from? It's coming from all of us. And
it is. And
what we talked about Saturday, Catherine, was one of the things we said. There's a whole lot of people who don't have kids in school. They either don't have kids or their kids are out, and they're still paying the salaries, the exorbitant salaries for these people in administrative fields.
I don't remember which year it was. It was a year in St. Charles County where there was not a primary, and or it wasn't a big primary election. But there were no props on the ballot. But Francis Howell School District, because they had tried before to get it would have been a 20-cent property tax increase, or a 20%, not 20 cents, 20% property tax increase. They spent $250,000 to put it on the ballot in the primary. $250,000. I stood out there with my sign, across the way from the teachers union people with my sign, saying this is, telling people this is going to be a 20% tax increase, property tax increase. And I stood at, many of you aren't familiar with St. Charles County, but I stood at a polling precinct that is very wealthy. It's a lot of wealthy retired people. I mean, we're talking Teslas showing up in the parking lot, that sort of thing. And they were all coming out just to vote against that property tax increase. And they're like, no, I'm retired. I don't have any kids in the school system. I know how poorly they budget and how poorly they spend our money. And I believe that primary, even though there wasn't much else on the ballot, had one of the largest turnouts just to vote against that property tax increase. So yeah, when you talk about, people, you and I don't, there's a lot of retirees that don't have children in the school districts anymore, and they're like, no.
Yeah, and and not only is that a good, when we talk about the amount of people on a fixed income, whether they're retired or on disability, whatever, okay, we talk about and then we talk about the Department of Education. We could carry that argument for the people on fixed incomes also to the personal property tax, which goes to the schools.
Yeah.
I mean, how many a lot of school districts end up with bond issues to increase revenues for the school. I mean, we've done it. Let's see. Yeah, we've done it for let's see, in the last, I don't know how many years. So when I was in high school, they added on and made a new high school. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
Right.
And then we had a new middle school built, a new elementary school built. Those were all bond issues. And it's like, here's the screwed up part, Catherine. You want to talk about some ticked off people, parents especially. So when they proposed this bond issue to build the elementary school, they're like, everything's going to be covered. The building, books, blah, 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 right? So what happens? They get the school built. They have a fundraiser to buy books.
Oh, for crying out loud.
The first year in the new school, they had kids coming home to sell things to buy to
Wow.
buy books for the school. Um,
Right.
a- and there's been so many things said. Here's another thing with education. I'm just in my area, and we're in Podunkville, by for God's
Right.
sakes, Catherine.
Well, I am now out in Lincoln County. So.
Yeah. So they wanted a new football field and track done. Now, this money did not come from a bond issue. This was money that had been building up supposedly, and the school decided they were going to um, put down, instead we had a natural grass football field. Okay, we got to have artificial turf. Why? I don't freaking know, because I guess we got to keep up with the Joneses. So they did that. They
Right.
they put a new track. Now everybody and their brother that was on board for this said this is good for the community because X, Y, and Z. So
Mhm.
every year, like a lot of cities have a relay for life. Okay, where they raise money
Right.
for cancer research. Guess what the school told them? You can't use the new track and field, go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh,
What?
guess that community thing didn't work out so slick, did it?
Right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, those in the community are paying for that track.
Can't use it.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, and when you talk about these bonds, I love it when they put a bond, to vote in favor of a bond. They'll say, "Oh, it's not going to be a tax increase." Well, guess what? When that money runs out, it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to go with this. In fact, Missouri has what is it? Enhanced economic zones, and
Right.
so what that is, folks, if you don't know, is like it's supposed to incentivize these big businesses to come in, and the towns or the cities will help them out. But what they don't tell you is they're like, well, it's only for businesses. They're going to pay their people this much or give them, so much different benefits and all these things. What they
Mhm.
don't say is if a big company says, we want to come in and build here. Well,
Right.
if you have to add lanes for the highway, if you have to, say you have to add water lines for a fire suppression system, all these things. What's the city do? The city goes, oh, we'll do bonds. When the bonds
Right.
come due, what do? They raise your taxes to pay for the bonds
Yep.
because the city doesn't have the money. Then
Yeah.
what happens is when the tax abatements run out, the company picks up and moves to a different area and does the same thing. It happens over and
Mhm.
over and over and over again. It's the same way with the schools. They do these things, the money runs out, the bonds come up, and the city's like, oh my God, we don't have the money. That's cool. We're government. We'll just demand more from you.
Right. Oh, yeah. I think. I mean, I said it Saturday, and I've said it many times. I would get rid of DESE altogether and just go with the private market. Go with the free market. Just let you pay. And if you don't like the school you're at, and the school's doing a terrible job, and a lot of people feel that way, well, guess what? That school goes away, and we start seeing more of the cream of the crop in education, but not with the way we're doing it. And I'm seeing these bills coming through that are I can't think of the numbers of bills that are supposed to be more school choice, more parental choice. And we were talking about this a little bit Saturday, where instead of DESE choosing the curriculum, the school board would get to choose curriculum and a number of other items. And, as much as I dislike DESE, that concerns me as well, because so many school boards are backed by the NEA and they get the money. School board, candidates get money from the NEA. They're promoted by the NEA. I mean, they don't, the NEA has slush funds, and they'll pay for mailers. Like, the candidate doesn't have to lift a finger, doesn't have to raise any money. And since they're municipal elections, they're nonpartisan. So unless you really, really do your homework and your research, and you're willing to be involved in your local community, most voters don't know who these candidates are. They don't know how they're going to spend their money or what kind of curriculum they're going to choose. So even that concerns me.
Well, it's a reoccurring theme around here, Catherine, and you know it very well, is it doesn't matter what option we choose. If we would choose to privatize the school and give back local control, the people of the area, just like within their state government, have to get involved. They
Yeah.
have to educate themselves on who's running, what they stand for, what the um, any of those, what what the curriculum's going to be, how the money's going to be
Right.
spent. Any of you had better get in there and let your voice be heard. It's just the same way as when we go to the Capitol in Jeff City to talk to them
Mhm.
about certain legislation. In fact,
Yeah.
I would say it's even more likely to be even more important to go to your school board, because if we want to continue the fight for freedom in Missouri, that means that you have to be damn
Yeah.
sure that your kids aren't being indoctrinated with full blown stupid.
Right. Right. And even if it's not your kids,
Yeah.
because I mean, as we see, it just permeates into society. As they leave school, or even when they're in school, as they go into society, what they're being taught, it just permeates within our society. So even if you don't have a child in the school system, I would say, you need to know the candidates. You need to attend your school board meetings. I always tell people municipal elections, in my opinion, are the most important elections. They have the lowest voter turnout, I think mainly because two reasons. People don't understand the importance of them, nor do they really know who any of the candidates are. But they're the ones that are going to have the greatest impact on our lives in terms of, taxation and local ordinances, that sort of thing. I mean, not that the state legislature doesn't, obviously they do, but those closest to home that are making the rules, that's going to have the greatest impact on us. So I always encourage people, get involved. And, if you don't know who to vote for, come see me. At least in my county.
Yeah, and then you can, I know, Catherine, you're not the type to be like, I want you to go vote for this person. You're going to give them
Yes.
reasons, but you're not going to say, I want you to go vote right now. For the,
No.
I demand that you vote. That's
No.
But that's the
And
problem. A lot of people don't
yeah.
do as you do. They do it the exact opposite way.
Or they vote. They're like, oh, well, what's the phrasing? Like they have a duty or something to vote. I'm always like, no. If you're not informed, just stay at home, please. Just stay home.
You're going to ruin it for the rest of us, by God.
That's right.
You're going to screw it up for everybody, ladies and gentle germs. Yeah, I don't. And again, when we talk about privatizing schools, I know that a lot of people are like, well, how would you do it? And there's no easy answer to this.
No.
I believe that if you were going to write legislation that said we're going to privatize schooling, you would have to do it like the like the personal property tax bill, where like you have so many years to get your affairs in order. It wouldn't be just because it would. Let's face it. In the big, like St. Louis, Kansas City area, Springfield, Columbia, it would be, oh my goodness, you'd have to call the NTSB because you'd have to report a train wreck. So if you say you have 5 years to get your affairs in order, and then you're going to have to figure out how you're going to get your funding because the state is no longer funding the schools. It's going to be local, blah, blah, blah. But you give them a timeline and say, now, if you can't get this right, that's not our problem. And then you have to focus on getting the parents involved there and after. So it's like, hey, here's your opportunity to get the schools the way you want them. Do you want your kids coming home and blasting this woke dribble in your face? Or do you want your kids to be functioning members of society who can critically think and, all that happy noise?
And I agree. The only one of the problems with that is there are too many parents that either really sincerely don't want to be that involved, or they just pay lip service to it. And, they want to complain about what's happening in their school district. But if it actually came down to, well, okay, here, we're going to start handing it over to you and your community, they'd be like, whoa, I don't know about that.
What are you trying to do? Are you trying to kill us? What is your problem?
Yeah, I pulled out, this is from Liberty Defined, Ron Paul, 50 Essential Issues That Affect Our Freedom, the chapter on education. I just have to read a little bit of it because it's so true. And I think it's something that we forget as, our legislature likes to kind kind of play around with DESE and, let's snip a little bit here and a little bit there, but not actually get rid of it. So in the chapter Education, Ron Paul says it's quite clear that there's no constitutional authority for the federal government to be involved in education, regardless of what the Supreme Court has claimed. Ideally, education in a free society would be the responsibility of the parents or the individual or local community, not the government. There is no constitutional prohibition for states or local communities to be involved in education, and up until the mid-20th century, education was the responsibility of the church, the family, and the local community. That's just a little snippet, but yeah, I mean, when we seem to have this idea that this is the government's responsibility, it's not.
Yeah, I think I guess you could say this stems probably from, well, there's a right to, because they love that there's a right to this and a right to that, and so
Yeah,
when they spout that means they want the government to step in and give you a
Right.
right to education, if you want to call it that.
Right.
What
And
you
it's
get now.
when you study, negative and positive rights, the right to education is a negative right, and that the government cannot obstruct or interfere with my inherent right to be an educated person, no matter what that looks like to me. That doesn't mean that I have a right in terms of government needs to make sure we're educated.
Yeah, again, like like I stated Saturday, you can hardly find anybody in this country that doesn't complain about government, but then every time they turn around, they want government to be in charge of something else, and it's
Right.
like, how when are you going to arrive at the conclusion that,
Mhm.
as my friend Trish says, everything the government touches turns to crap?
Yeah.
Can we just agree on that?
Right.
What program has government come up with in the last, I don't know, 150 years that has ever turned out well for us?
Yeah.
It turns out great for them because they create jobs for their friends and they get money and they get these. But as far as us, except for a very few people maybe in the,
Mhm.
the private sector that benefit from these things, the majority of the people get crushed under the wheels.
Yeah.
I don't yeah. But
Yeah. Government gets too focused on, trying to help one particular group, but then it's always at the detriment of all these other groups that they forgot to look at. We talked about, like Ayn Rand said the smallest minority is the individual, and you got to deal with the individual first and not try to, like when you started out the show talking about changing, no longer offering honors English because it seemed like it was, not helpful to minorities who could enroll in it. They're just focusing on one group as opposed to the individual.
And, yeah.
There's that other podcast, I wish you had it as well, where they were speaking of minorities, where they were talking about how math is racist.
Oh yes, it was, and then you had
Right.
the different things that were white privilege, like perfectionism,
Right.
quality over quantity, or quantity over quality.
Yeah. And I haven't asked myself, or something that it was more specifically about Black people, that somehow math, was somehow a detriment to Black people. And I haven't asked my son yet because, I have an adopted son from Ethiopia if he feels like math is racist. He'd probably look at me like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, why are you smoking crack now, Mom? This late in life, you shouldn't be smoking that much crack.
Right.
Let me see if I can. I don't know how this is going to sound, but I can try to pipe it through the microphone on my or the speakers on my. Oh nope, it's gonna. God bless America. It's not gonna work. Never mind. Crap. If I try to let me, I'm going to try to play this, but I have a feeling the audio is going to be garbage. But let me start this real quick, and if it sounds like total dog snot, then I'll stop it.
Okay.
School is eliminating honors courses. This here is from Reason by Emma Camp. Thank you for writing this and allowing us to read it over there at Reason. We're going to go through some education stuff for the remainder of this episode.
Is it
We're
playing?
going to be digging in. We've even talked about some.
It is playing, but you can't hear it, so never mind.
No.
Son of a biscuit-eating basketball player. Everybody liked that
I
statement so
love
much
that.
earlier that
I've
they're
gotta use
saying it
that.
again. Yeah. So I have to, okay, just because I've said it twice, I have to give you a backstory. So my dad
Okay.
was a big baseball fan, and in 87, the Cardinals were playing the Royals, and I was sitting in a chair with my dad watching the ball game, and I think, let's see, Dane Orge got a hit, and the Royals won it in the bottom of the ninth or something, and ended up winning I think it was Game 6. Now my dad just didn't curse. He might say damn once in a while or something, but
Right.
other than that, that was it. And so he's sitting there, Dane Orge. I don't know if Dane Orge scored the winning run, or if he got the hit. Grant, if you say go Royals again, I'm going to break your fingers. But anyway, he he just typed that in the comments. But so somebody scored the winning run for the Royals, and my dad just goes, "Son of a biscuit-eating basketball player." Well, I almost fell off the chair because I assumed he was going to say the other thing.
Right.
And he laughed so hard because he's like, "I got you on that one, didn't I?" I was like, "Yeah, you did," because I thought you were going to say the other thing that I've never heard you yell out at any time ever in my life. So, yeah, I had to give the backstory. So once in a while, I pull that one off, and I dust off an oldie and pull that one out when I get a little irritated. But
That's pretty good.
I wish I could. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what I'm going to do, Catherine. I'm going to play the audio, even though you can't hear it, and I'll say it back to you because I want to get to the part where they talk about the if I can find the spot with the white supremacy thing. Give me just a second here.
Okay.
True
Okay.
that wrong answers can be right. We've been telling kids this for a while. They want you to know terms used in the engagement section of this resource are ideas presented in the Dismantling Racism Workbook 2016. Grounded on the work of Jones and Oken, it is important to read this article first to fully understand the terms that are identified as characteristics of white supremacy culture and organization. We contextualize these ideas into the math classroom to make visible how white supremacy culture plays out in these spaces. As a visual indicator, we italicize the terms used to identify white supremacy characteristics, as defined by Jones and Okun in 2001. They are as follows.
So these are
white supremacy characteristics.
okay.
Charlie, what are they?
Perfectionism,
White
Perfectionism,
supremacy.
sense of urgency,
sense of urgency,
defensiveness,
defensiveness,
quantity over quality,
quantity over quality,
worship of the written word,
worship of the written word,
paternalism,
paternalism,
either or thinking,
either or thinking,
power hoarding,
power hoarding,
fear of open conflict,
fear of open conflict,
individualism.
individualism. That was all the ones they brought up.
Wait, so those are all white supremacists?
That is all
Things-
white supremacist
White
things.
supremacy.
Yes.
Okay.
That means if
Well,
you
being
don't,
defensive. Yeah.
yeah, because when you bring up facts to a woke person, what's the first thing they do? They get real defensive,
Mm-hmm.
and they like to
What
bring
I
out the
call-
names.
Uh-huh. When you argue with them, I liken it to playing chess with pigeons. You know, they'll get mad, knock over the chess pieces, and crap on the board. That's what it's like trying to argue with them.
That I like that. I like that comparison. I like that parallel that you just made. That you just drew out there. That's good stuff. Yeah, that's but it's
Yep.
true.
It is.
They will just be like, I don't like this game anymore, and they'll just
Uh-huh.
drop a deuce
Knock
on the
over all
board, and you're like,
pieces and, yep.
you just drop a deuce on the board, and you're like,
What'd I say?
why did you do that? I don't like this game anymore. Like, I will murder you, you weird bastard.
But, oh my goodness. Yeah, individualism. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm speechless on that one. But I think because see themselves in a group mentality. They have a group mentality. Does that make sense? Like they identify with their, their race, their ethnicity. So that's not like, so yeah, I mean, maybe that is true of us, but, as white people, but I don't think it's, I'm trying to put this into words here, but I don't think it's something that can't be for everybody. This idea, of individualism, that's not just a white idea.
Yeah, well, and here's the
but
thing.
They don't claim it.
Here's the thing, though, Catherine. At the end of the day, these people will get out in the public and scream and shout and everything else. Why? Because they want to be recognized as an individual. So the same thing they're trampling on is the same thing. They're using that very thing to apply pressure by them being an individual shouting for a cause. They're acting on an individual basis, which is based in what? Individualism. They want their voices heard. They want their voice heard. So they're speaking on an individual basis, but yet they want to annihilate individualism. They don't even understand the system that they're using in order to perpetuate the end of that system. It's just like when they attack capitalism.
What I'm trying to say. Right. Or when it comes to this, as we're talking about with education, they want things in terms of groups. Does that make sense? Like not in terms of the individual. They think government owes it to them owes something to them as a group. And maybe that's where we're different. We don't, as white people say, well, this is owed to us because we're white people.
Yeah, you know what? This couldn't have happened at a better time. So if Duncan is watching this at any time, thank you, Duncan. Duncan just sent me an email. You're going to love this, Catherine, because I was unaware of this. So check this out. Talk about divine intervention. So the Gasconade County Republican Club is going to have an open meeting Monday, March 6th. So anybody who watches this in the local area here in Owensville or surrounding area, Gasconade County, check this out. So Monday, March 6th at 7 o'clock at the Swiss Evangelical Reformed Church Hall, meeting information and featured speakers. Superintendent Dr. Hardy on the Gasconade County R2 School District bond issue. Assessor Paul Schulte on individuals proposing discontinuation of personal property taxes. Winner, chicken dinner. Guess I'm going to that one.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to hear the propaganda that spews forth in this meeting and try not to see my head explode. But Duncan, again, thanks for sending that my way. I greatly appreciate that. I'm glad that I didn't know there was another bond issue. What in?
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. What in the hell could these people want money for now? Seriously.
Right? They are always wanting money.
And I guess this would be the perfect time for me to stand up in that meeting and say, hey, I got a question. All these administrative roles out there making six figures, maybe if we took some of that money away or had less administration and shrunk DESE, you could still take the same amount of money and get the schools where you wanted them without having to tax us more. How about that, Mr. Superintendent? Now, that's not going to get very good. He's probably going to give me a stink eye.
Public official salaries, I mean, that's public information. So you should be able to find that, or even I don't think you'd have to do a sunshine law request or sunshine request, but that's public information. So you ought to be able to find the superintendent's salary plus a lot of the administrators.
Well, let's just see if I can find it real quick since we're on here. Aid County. Oh, if I could spell on the old keyboard, I'd be doing really great.
Gasconade, that is a hard one.
Gasconade County R2 School.
Someone says they want an AstroTurf football field in Owensville.
Oh, they got it.
Right, said that.
They got it.
Oh, they got it?
Yeah, they got it several years back.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Superintendent salary. I know it's got to be six figures. Guaranteed. It's got to be. Let's see. Classified salary schedule PDF. This is from August 31st. What the hell is that? They don't tell me jack squat. Come on, people. Extra duty teacher class. Where's the superintendent's salary? It's awful. Extra duty salary.
You may have some homework to do between now and
classified salary. What? I don't even. I'm gonna murder some. This is all the teachers and aides and all this. But I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. This is salary.com. Like, that's gonna tell me anything, you weirdo.
No, you have to look up public officials' salaries because, like, the sheet that I printed was one of I don't know how many, and it listed all of the, also the fire districts and, the county executive. But I mean, even higher than the county executive. I don't even have the county executive on my first sheet. Superintendent of Francis Howell School District is making more than St. Charles County executive.
That's nuts. I mean, schools close to us are making six figures.
Yeah.
The majority of them, if they're not six figures, they're in the $90,000 range. And
right.
It's a long list that I'm looking for. I've seen 145,000. I've seen Troy, Missouri, Troy R3, 175,000.
Oh yeah, and it's Mark Penny. Yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut. I don't have anything good to say about that man.
Come on, where the heck's Owensville at? Good Lord, they got every freaking school on here, and I'm going to start having seizures because the words are scrolling by so fast I can't keep up with them. So if you see my eyes roll up in my head, just reach through your screen and smack me in the face. Right. Yeah, I don't know why I haven't seen Owensville, but I guarantee you, with knowing Owensville the way I think I know Owensville, I mean, I've lived here all my life, so good Lord. If it was below $100,000, I would mess my pants. Well, yeah, because Crawford County R1 is $105,000, and I mean Cuba. If that's Cuba, Missouri, they're not that. Oh, here we go. Never mind. $115,000. The one in Herman gets $127,000 a year.
Missouri.
Herman, Missouri's, because they should be R1. Makes $12,000 more a year than the Owensville one does.
Oh, that's insane. But still, I mean, and that's just the superintendent. Now, how many administrators do they have? For each school district, how many school districts are there? I mean, you start adding that up. I mean, you end up in the millions. It's ridiculous.
That was. Remember what they were talking about with the Baltimore thing, where they had like a CEO and a CFO, and then they all had assistants, and the assistants had
assistants, and
secretaries, and what was it like? God, what was the? I don't remember how many millions of dollars they said for.
It adds up.
View salary details. This is for Chuck Garner. I don't know. This is govsalaries.com, but I don't know if that's going to tell me. Oh,
right.
Wow. Because I went straight to the school website to see teacher salary schedule. Now, I don't know what these things mean. There's BS, BS plus 8, BS plus 16, BS plus 24, MS, BS plus 32. So it starts out at 38,000, and it looks like the top. Well, maybe it's what you have as far as your schooling. But it looks like the top tier is 61,790, but that's doctorate, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
It's just
still.
Again, $115,000 for our superintendent. You take. Oh, wait a minute. Damn, I screwed that up. Crap. I wanted to see. Let's see. I'll just look at it this way. Missouri Superintendent. If I could spell, pay.
Well, you did. Did you go through public school?
I did. So I'm
Okay,
going
so
on.
did I.
I'm going on Channel 5's website right now. Now this is from 2014, mind you. So God knows.
Yeah, you know. It's more.
The highest paid superintendent in the state is Lee Summit, $282,000.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
if we took, does it say what the lowest one is? Because I saw one that was like 40-something thousand. Oh, okay. Let's say Jennings pays its superintendent $192,000. Normandy pays $184,000. Ladue pays $180,000. There are a number of
insanity.
there are a number of superintendents making less than 50, but so Adair, it must be a tiny area, 43,000. Avenue City, 41,000. The average, I would say, is anywhere from $75,000 to $85,000 looking at these. But then like Fulton, 131,000. Camdenton, 144,000. Cape Girardeau, 142. Raymore Peculiar, 175. Nixa, 163,000.
Right.
Jefferson City, $202,000.
Well, that's not surprising.
Now, you look at the size. I mean, everybody thinks Jeff City's really not that big of a town.
It's not. No.
Springfield R12, 160,000. That doesn't surprise me either.
I mean, that's what you have to do. I mean, when, like I said, when Francis Howell was going after that tax increase, I mean, I was just doing live, going on Facebook Live and just throwing out numbers like, here's what they're already getting, here's how they're spending it, here's what their salaries are. Do you really think they need that money? We got Elliot Davis to come out, because Francis Howell School District, because they were asking for a tax increase, paid $250,000 to put it on the ballot to ask for a tax increase. It was one of these, so what does he call his thing? Like, what are you paying for? Or something like that.
You paid for it?
Yeah, you paid for it. Yeah, so he came out like, they want more of your money, even though they just spent $250,000 to put the tax increase on the ballot. Like, are you kidding me? That's how stupid it is.
Yeah, so we got more. We got Blue Springs R4 at $250,000, Raytown at $200,000, Independence $206,000, Kansas City 33, $250,000. Let's see what else. A lot of 100-something thousands. Fox C6 $260,000.
Has there ever been, this is Missouri Freedom Initiative, has there ever been a school walkout protesting the overpaid administration?
Absolutely not. Of course not. No.
No. That's what teachers ought to do when they're complaining about their salaries.
I mean, but, they're going to...
But they're union, so...
Well, yeah, Francis Howell, $203,049.
Okay.
Rockwood $250,000, Kirkwood $264,000, Lindbergh $238,000, Parkway $232,000, Webster Groves $200,000, Special School District St. Louis County $237,000. I mean, it's just Nevada $136,000. Nevada's not that big of a town, is it?
That's tiny. No, we've been there.
Potosi's not that big of a town. $190,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, folks. If you want to know how to get your teachers more funding, how about you start asking the admins why they're making so much money? Ask your state reps why DESE has 1,700 employees making God knows. I wonder if I can find out. Let's see, Missouri. Let's see. Let's see if we can look up the salaries in DESE.
Oh my goodness.
Do I even want to know?
I know. Do we want to go there?
Oh, it's not even. They're not giving numbers. They just got different things,
Yeah.
salary, blah blah blah, but they're not giving numbers. Does that surprise me? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Professional exam. I don't know what all this means.
Yeah, real median household income, Chimichanga, in Missouri, 2022, $57,290.
So let's see. Agency budget analyst is ranges P5. Maximum of 71,256. Childhood administrator. Childhood administrator. 66,984, 83,544, maximum of $100,000.
Oh my goodness. Everybody's blood boiling.
Quality assurance specialist, $74,784.
Yeah.
School finance consultant, maximum of $67,848. So you have people in the bureaucracy of DESE who are just doing these things, and what are they doing? They're getting paid $20,000 more, maybe $30,000 more a year than a teacher?
Yeah.
Excuse me? Okay, so here's
all
the
backwards.
state-operated school salary schedule. Annual based on a 2,080 hour year. Let's see. A cook makes, well, $45,000 a year. I doubt that. School system analyst can make $52,000. A storekeeper. I don't know that these are. That doesn't seem. I guess maybe these are average. I'm not sure. This is completely just minimum salary 2022 monthly memo, whatever that means. I don't understand all these numbers. I don't understand because I'm not in this. I had to talk to my wife. She might have a better understanding of what all this means. But
Yeah.
I'm seeing the salaries again. 1,700 people in DESE, Catherine.
Yeah.
Maybe we could cut that in half. Let's say start out we cut that in half. Take all the money for those salaries and spread them to the teachers. No increase at all. No tax increase. No increase in anything. You literally take the money that you're already. Let me say this: stealing, and you pass it on to the people that you supposedly care about without coming up with another administrative person with fees and having an assistant and secretary paying them probably $40,000-$50,000 a year.
Right. Yeah. All this administrative stuff is just BS. Yep.
Oh my God.
We've solved the problem. If only the world would come to us, John, we could solve all of life's problems.
Well, and I know neither one of us are here to say that we can solve the problem, but we can sure as hell point out what it is.
Exactly.
Maybe we should can we get somebody with who's really good with a drone with an attached spray paint can? And what we do is where they're like some idiot in government's going to be like, well, what's the problem? I pay the guy to fly the drone to the biggest DESE building they can find, and spray a circle around and go, here, we circled the problem.
Right.
And give him an aerial shot.
One of many.
We give him an aerial shot and say, this is the DESE building with the most people. Here's your freaking problem right here.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
boy.
Well, if there's anything else that we can do on this show Catherine, you know it too. We can sure
Yeah.
raise people's blood pressures just by talking
That's
about
true.
edumacation.
Oh, right.
You know how awesome it would be to go to a hearing on education, some kind of bill, and then you go as a witness to give testimony, but instead of saying education, say edumacation. And if they say,
Edumacation.
why do you keep saying edumacation? Be like, this is what government schooling taught me. Do you
That's
think
right.
maybe we can fix this without more money? Maybe fix the curriculum and the edumacation that I got, you jackass?
Right. Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
boy, Catherine, we sure know how to have fun on a Monday night.
You're right. Yeah.
But again, it's just you know, and I get it. Education has been a hot topic for years. It's one of those. It's one of those subjects where it's one of those great divide issues, I guess you'd call it. People on the one side like we need to pay. Everybody says we need to pay teachers more. How we get there is kind of sometimes you get two different answers.
Right.
The proposed actual solution, nobody's coming out in this crowd of the general public and saying,
the clowns,
hey, maybe it's the government.
Right. Well, I mean, like you can see their brains imploding if the idea of not stealing tax dollars to fund education. And I've heard so many times I don't mind them, I don't mind paying taxes, honey. You ain't paying anything. It's being stolen from you, first of all. But I don't mind paying taxes to live in an educated society. I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Well, you're getting screwed.
Right? Exactly. First of all, yeah, to live in an educated society. But then it's also like, do you really think, do we really not trust people enough that we just assume that people don't want to be educated, that if government didn't come in and provide a means of education, that we're all just going to sit around like clashing rocks together or something like, it's kind of ludicrous.
They are kind of doing that right now.
They are now.
Except they're doing it on electronic devices and not rocks.
Right. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like they just can't imagine that, well, if government doesn't come in and make you, don't even get me started on compulsory education. But if the government doesn't come in and make you go get an education, we're not going to live in an educated society. Are you crying? Give me a break. People do have an inherent thirst for knowledge.
Or you should. You should anyway.
You should. I think most people do. It might not fit within the parameters of what the government thinks you're supposed to know, which is a bunch of crap anyway. I still haven't used algebra.
Yeah, I haven't either. I every day is basic math. It really is.
But those that know that they want to do something and go into a field where they would use it, they're going to then want to learn it for their own sake. It's like you can't teach something to somebody if they're not ready or willing or interested in learning it. You just can't.
Yeah,
it's like throwing spaghetti against a wall and hoping it sticks.
Yeah, it's just like you can't fix stupid. Well, you can't educate people who don't want to be educated. You don't want to be. If you don't, it's the same thing with any other subject that we touch on, Catherine.
Right.
It could be economics. It could be government, what government's role should be. It could be the Constitution. It could be anything. If people don't want to wake up and come to the conclusion that they've been lied to for many, many years, you can scream till you're blue in the face, and none of that makes any difference. They just the priorities are completely backwards. But those central planners like it that way, because if you think, again, I think the biggest fear for a lot of these folks is for the public to come to an understanding that they don't need those people in those
Hmm.
bureaucracies. They don't need the central planners because,
Right.
by God, they can do most everything on their own or with the help of someone else who doesn't sit
Right.
in a government office. I think that is the biggest fear in most of these politicians who want to lord over people is the
Hmm.
fact that if people figured out they didn't need them,
Right.
it'd be a lot different world.
Yep, I agree. Well, I'm probably going to have to get ready to go.
Okay, that's cool. I appreciate you. I am
Yeah.
sorry that we had these.
I am too. I don't know. One of these days.
Yeah, one of these days when
figure it out.
you think about it, yeah, that's what sucks about you living. I wish you would live like 5 miles away because I could literally just come over to your house and be like, I want to look at this, and I could have somebody on
Right.
my end going, okay, I'm gonna start this up, and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna look at things, and
Yeah.
I don't want I drive to your house sometime, but then I don't want people thinking like, oh God, what a stalker! Like I'm trying to fix things. I'm not a creep. I'm just trying to
Right,
fix things.
no.
Good Lord. Okay,
We know. Can I put in a plug real quick?
you sure can.
Yeah. So I'm going to be on Real Talk 93.3 tomorrow and Wednesday. It's Brian Nieves and the Patriot Enclave, but I'm flying solo. He is taking a couple of days off. So I'm flying solo tomorrow and Wednesday. Patrick Holland is, as far as I know, planning to call in on Wednesday, give us some updates on what's going on in the legislature. So anyway, just it's from 2 to 4 p.m. Again, that's Real Talk 93.3. There's also an app. I'm nervous about it, but I'm also excited about it. If I had a nickel for every time I did something, even though I was nervous, I'd be rich. It's going to be good.
Well, and the good thing for you, Catherine, is you've been on his show enough that you kind of have knowledge of how things go.
Yes.
So you it's not like you're just being dropped in like, hey, you sound awesome. Do a show, and
yeah,
you're like,
no.
I don't. And they're like, oh, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
And
that
you're like,
does help a
oh.
lot. And it is nice that, they asked me to be on there with them anyway because I'm a libertarian. So, yeah, it's kind of full reign.
Yeah, I'm kind of envious of you because I have yet to be. I understand. I'm annoying and chafing. I get it.
No,
But
no.
it would be
But,
it would be
you're
great.
interviewing state senators and state legislators. You've come a long way, baby.
It has. I have come a long way. I will give you that. Well, Catherine, again, I apologize, but I
Yeah,
really,
no
really
worries.
appreciate you coming on. And again, at some point in the future, we need to collaborate and maybe just create. I don't care. We can create a whole nother show where
Yeah,
we can just,
that'd be fun.
it would probably have to be on a weekend or something, when we both
Right.
have more time. But yeah, you think about that, and we'll keep it. We'll both keep it in our minds, and then
All right.
maybe in a not too distant future we can
Sounds good. I
do something like that.
appreciate everybody hanging in there, with us.
Oh boy. Ugh. All right. Thanks, Catherine, and we'll talk.
right,
We'll
yep.
talk again soon.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, folks. Well, that was Catherine Dreher talking about DESE in the state of Missouri and how screwed up it is. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to find somebody who's really knows these numbers and have them on at some point to break down DESE and administrators and all of that stuff. That's what I'm gonna have to do at some point. But anyway, so folks, that's going to do it for this evening. Again, I will have to go back and clip the first, I don't know, 17 minutes out or however long before we got audio where everybody could hear, and then start it up. And so this video is viable, and I don't have people like, nope, don't want to listen to that, and then just dumping the video like I had, and then me having to delete a second one. That was annoying as all get out. But again, folks, this Friday, it's first Friday of the month, be joined by Patrick Holland from the Missouri Freedom Initiative to discuss what's going on in the state of Missouri right now. And again, I've got, Timmy Chonga has numbers on DESE. There we go. And then, again, the rest of the month is jam-packed full. We got Patrick. We got Maisie Boyd. We got Robert Brown. We got Cherie Tolson Reich. And we have Tony Lavasco. So this whole 5 Fridays of great content right here on the Missouri Liberty Report. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Again, apologize for the technical issues. I'm just going to have to stick to. I'm going to have to figure out somebody else on a different computer to come in and try. Send them a link. They come on. We try it again to see if it's on their end or if it's on my end. And if it's on my end, then I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong so we don't have this issue again. But anyway, folks, have a great evening. We'll see you. And unless I come up with another topic to just start blowing steam off on, we'll see you again on Friday, right here on the Missouri Liberty Report. Good night, everybody.